in this one. They need the win. They need it. He's going to be throwing dimes all day.
Welcome back to Hoop and Helmets, episode 5. I'm Brody Jacobson, and as always, joined alongside by my co-host, Lucas DeVries. Lucas, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Ready for our show today.
And last week, college football really wasn't that exciting. And we're going to start with the early games from last week. And Ole Miss was able to take care of business against Georgia. And now Georgia's a 2-loss team, but I still believe a 2-loss Georgia makes the playoffs. What about you?
2-loss Georgia definitely makes the playoffs. The question is, if they have 3 losses, will they make it? And if they do have 3 losses, I don't think it's going to happen unless one of them's in like the SEC championship maybe. But so yeah, it's a must-win for them this week against Tennessee.
Yeah, and Ole Miss, Jackson Dart played pretty well. They had that backup come in, the freshman. He came to play a drive, and he led them down the field to score.
Yeah.
And then in the ACC, Miami suffered their first loss to Georgia Tech, and that dropped them quite a few spots in the rankings. And Cam Ward really didn't play that bad. He had 350 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. That one fumble on the last drive is clearly a knock. But once again, we see Miami. They're not able to put away these lesser teams than them. And their defense, again, is letting them down. Georgia Tech was able to drive all over them. Haynes King wasn't even himself, and he was running all over them with that quarterback situation there. And
yeah, Haynes King didn't even have an arm in that game, and they still won. That's like crazy to think about. And I'm really happy because it gives Clemson a chance to make the ACC championship game.
Yeah, but this Miami loss really hurts the ACC.
True.
Yeah, Miami was a top 4 team in the country. Now they lost to Georgia Tech, and now they're around the top 10, the end of the top 10. And then in the night game, Alabama traveled to Baton Rouge to play LSU, and Jalen Milroe said, I'm going to do exactly what I did to you guys last year. He ran for 185 yards and 4 scores. He ran for 4 scores last year in Tuscaloosa. Alabama took care of this game early in the first half, and it was lights out after that. Nussmeier, again, he played well, but you got to play better than well if you want to win these tough SEC games. LSU's offense was extremely weak in the first half, and Bama took care of business. And now 2-loss Bama looks really good. Top 10 team as they deserve to be. And 3-loss LSU is probably looking on the outside of the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, LSU's defense looked like some Swiss cheese in that game. That was terrible. One more thing before we move on to this week and our spread picks. BYU in the late game, that was very risky. They should have lost. Like, come on. That was 2 plays in a row where they had 2 safeties in a row, and somehow then they get the first down on like 2 penalties, and then they ended up winning, which is stupid. BYU reminds me so much of that TCU team from a couple of years ago, which I don't think either of them are that great, but they feel like they're like a team of destiny. And they both have 3 letters, I guess. They're both from the Big 12. I don't know. They're very similar, I think.
Yeah, I still don't think that was a holding, but we could argue about that all day.
I know.
Anyway, let's move it on to this week of college football, week 12. We're going to start it off with our spread picks. I can start first this week. And I'm going to start in the early window. Texas travels to Arkansas, and Texas is favored by 12.5. And I just don't understand why Arkansas is even remotely close. The spread is remotely close to 14 points in this game. Arkansas is coming off a humiliating loss to Ole Miss. And how good is Ole Miss? We're not quite sure. This SEC, we're not quite sure how good any team is, to be honest. But this is a Texas team that's going to take care of business. They've taken care of business when they've needed to all year, and they're going to continue to prove why they're the top team in the SEC, and they're going to hold on to that one loss, and they're going to win by over 14 in this game.
Yeah, the SEC is chaos. So I'm going to get into my first pick. I have Illinois. They're favorites by 2 against Michigan State, and Michigan State's coming off a bye. So maybe they're more prepared, but still, Illinois has been the better team all year. They have the way better record, and they're only getting 2 points, which I love picking a lot of these games because it's not really the spread aspect anymore. It's kind of just who you think's going to win once it gets to this low, and I think Illinois is going to win it. And the thing is, they're also at home, so I think it's kind of a weird spread. So maybe I don't know something, but I'm going to pick Illinois.
Yeah, and next I'm going to move on to the 4 o'clock window. And I found a theme this week when picking my spreads, and it was I like teams that have just been a wrecking crew over the last few weeks. They've been blowing out teams, and yet the spreads are still close. James Madison is favored by 2.5 on the road at Old Dominion, and I haven't been paying attention to James Madison, but I checked this week. They've won their last 3 games by, I believe, around 25 points each. Old Dominion has a losing record. They're not a very good football team. And James Madison's quarterback, 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Talk about keeping the ball safe. They know how to win games, and they're definitely going to win by more than 2.5 in this one.
Yeah. So speaking of a wrecking crew, it was kind of just a one-game wrecking crew, but still, Virginia pulled off a big upset last week on the road versus Pitt, and they're underdogs by 25, and it's against Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, or the underdogs by 24. Notre Dame's a really good team, and they've been beating teams by a lot. But Virginia, they're going to have some confidence going this one. They know they can get it done. And, Notre Dame's just been winning too much, and they're so capable of losing to bad teams. We see it year after year, every time. And they always have one of these type of games. So I could see Notre Dame winning this by 50, I'm not going to lie. But I think the better chance is that Virginia's going to cover the spread. And I think it could be like a 34-24 type game because Virginia's not a bad team at all, and they can score. So,
As you say, trap game for Army. Anyway, let's go to Camp Randall at 7:30. Oregon, the number 1 team in the country, travels to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's season hasn't been great. Not really up to their standards. One more win gives them their postseason eligibility. Oregon's been great. Their star receiver is out for the year, though. But Wisconsin, this is the one game they can get fired up for. This one win, it changes their whole season. Now you have a great season. You beat Oregon. And if they're remotely close in going to the fourth quarter when Jump Around comes on, something can happen in the fourth.
yeah. Okay. I don't mind the pick there, but Wisconsin really hasn't had any offense all year. But that Oregon star wide receiver being out, that could shake things up a lot. I didn't even know that, so that could be a big deal in the future. But I'm going to go back to the ACC here again because I know the conference pretty well. And I'm going to pick Syracuse plus 10. Cal is actually a pretty darn good football team. They've been playing some good games. They're 1-4 or like 2-4 in the ACC, which isn't good at all because like the ACC is not the greatest conference. But still, they're favorites by 10 against Syracuse. It is at Cal, but Syracuse is a 6-3 team this year. They have a couple good wins. I know they beat UNLV, who's one of the Group of 5 contenders, in a great game earlier this year. And they got Kyle McCord, Ohio State's old quarterback, and he could be poised for good games from time to time. And I think this is going to be one of them. And Syracuse is continuing a sneaky good year here. Maybe they could finish like a 10-win season. So.
Yeah, I've really liked what I've seen out of Syracuse this year and Kyle McCord, other than that one game against Pitt. So 3:30, we're gonna stick to the SEC. LSU travels to Florida, coming off that humiliating loss last week. LSU. I'm still not quite sure what to get out of this football team. They really don't have any great wins, and their losses haven't been great either. They haven't been able to take care of business. Now you travel to the Swamp, and DJ Lagway is back. He's ready to go. He's fired up for this one. The freshman quarterback, I love him, and he's going to prove why he's one of the top freshmen in the country. Florida could win outright.
That'd be great. You're definitely setting a theme here. Guess where I'm going? Back to the ACC. This time we have another underdog by double digits, and it's Wake Forest against North Carolina. North Carolina has Amarion Hampton, who's really good. He's a great RB, but Wake Forest getting 12 points here. Wake Forest, they're not good by any means, but they're 4-5. They've put up some decent battles, and 12 points is a lot for these ACC games as they're always really close. So I'm going to pick Wake Forest to cover the spread. It's very similar to that Cuse-Cal game, actually. At least one of them will hit, I'm sure of it. So that's why I'm rolling with Wake here.
You're the ACC guy. So I've picked them over the last couple of weeks, and as you said, they are a team of destiny. BYU favored by 2.5. They're back home in Provo against Kansas, and Kansas they've gotten unlucky at times. They're 3-6. Their win last week against Iowa State shows that they're still one of the top teams in that conference. They've just gotten unlucky in a few games. But BYU, Jake Retzlaff, let's go BYU at night.
So my next pick is not an ACC team, but it's actually an American team. Pretty similar. Actually, no, they're not similar at all. But anyways, we have Memphis. They're favored by 15. I remember I picked them recently, and I think I got it wrong. But they're playing UAB, who's one of the worst teams in the country. They're at home, and they get 15 points. I think with their high-powered offense, they could easily cover that spread. They beat a lot of teams by more than that this year, and UAB is probably their weakest opponent, unless they played like an FCS team. Yeah, UAB is like as bad as it gets for FBS team. But I was still debating this because I remember I got Memphis wrong one time, and they've kind of proven me I feel like they're better than what they're showing. But I think this is going to be a domination against UAB, and their American Conference Championship hopes are kind of gone. But if chaos happens, they can still get in. You never know what happens. So they do have stuff to play for. UAB does, and that's why I'm going Memphis.
Yeah, Seth Hennigan's been pretty good this year for Memphis.
Yeah.
Under center. And I'm going to keep it in the American. This is our confidence pick. And I have not hit confidence picks this year, but we're going to hit it this week. At noon, I like this one a lot. Tulane heading to Annapolis to play Navy, and Navy has struggled as of late. It's no secret they have. Tulane's rolling. They won 52-6 against Temple last week. They've won the last 3 games by near margins of 120 combined points. They're really a wrecking crew right now. Mensa's been great. Mekhi Hughes, he really is a top running back in the country. And how about the USC transfer receiver, Mario Williams? Did you know they had him? Well, now you do. And Tulane has stuff to play for. They're 6-0 in the American. And watch out, Army. If you have to play them in the American Conference Champions, I'd watch out.
That's why I'm rooting for Navy in this one. So I rated my top 10 matchups for this week, and I have Tulane versus Navy at number 4 because it's such a big game. It's a winner gets into the American Championship, and if Boise State drops one, the American champion's going to make the college football playoffs. That's why it's a huge game. I'll be posting that video either tonight or tomorrow morning, so be on the lookout for that. And now as we get to my confidence, we're going with Clemson against Pitt. I really don't think Pitt's that good, and they've been on a downfall recently, and Clemson's getting 11 points. And besides 2 games this year, Clemson has actually been pretty dominant in a lot of their games. Besides their kicking game, which is just horrendous, there's a literal montage of them getting field goals blocked. It's absurd. But if we don't get any field goal block touchdowns this game, we should easily cover the spread because we are a way better team than the Pitt Panthers are.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we can really expect out of Pitt. So those are our spread picks for the week. Good luck to you, Lucas, on those. So now we're going to preview some of the biggest games of the week, and we'll start with your confidence pick. Clemson travels to Pittsburgh to play against Pitt, and I'm still not sure what to make of Pitt. I agree with you. Clemson should be able to win this game, and like I always say, take care of business when you're a top Power 4 team playing against the weaker opponents in your conference.
Yeah, so Pitt is Eli Holstein. He looked good at the beginning of the season, their starting QB. He's a freshman, so he'll definitely develop in years to come. But for now, the last couple of weeks, he's looked shaky, and his defense carried him to that win on Thursday night against Syracuse a couple of weeks ago. So they really haven't been tested, and now they get us and then Louisville. I just see them end up falling to like a 8-5 season or something like that, maybe in like the Sun Bowl, I can imagine. But yeah, I think we're the better team, and hopefully we win. We're still technically in contention for the playoff. We probably have a decent chance if we win out. So this game means a lot for us, and we can't look ahead to like South Carolina or anything like that. We just got to keep winning, and then when the time comes, we'll get ready for that game.
Yeah, Pitt has really regressed since the beginning and middle part of the season, I guess you could say. LSU travels to the Swamp to take on Florida. What do you see there?
So DJ Lagway is supposed to be playing as of now. if he's not playing that Yale third-string quarterback guy, he will not be winning the game for Florida. Sorry, Florida fans. But if DJ Lagway is playing and is truly healthy, I think they have a chance. I think LSU isn't a good team. I did think they were. I picked them in the past, but they just have proven me wrong in bad ways. They just got dominated by Alabama, and they should have lost to Ole Miss too. They got lucky in that one. And that USC game lost at the beginning of the year, you're like, oh, USC is really good. They're really not. So LSU is just kind of a mid-tier SEC team. And Florida, if they have DJ Lagway, they're not a bad team at all. Don't let their record fool you. Their schedule is just impossible. So I could see this going either ways. I'm still going to go with LSU, though, because of the health concerns for Florida.
Yeah, but I'm going to take Florida in that one, but we already discussed that one. Let's keep it in the SEC. Missouri travels to South Carolina, and Shane Beamer's crew has been very hot as of late, and people are saying they could be in playoff contention with 3 losses.
Yeah, that's Beamer ball for you. So South Carolina, I think they're going to have to win against Clemson later, so I hope they don't do that. But I think if they pull that off and then beat Missouri this week, who knows, a 3-loss South Carolina team with a great resume, and they should have had way less losses too, they could possibly make the playoff. It's definitely possible if chaos ensues, but if everything goes to plan, it's still looking slim to them. But they've been rolling this week, so I don't see any scenario they lose this. Lenora Sellers is looking like Jalen Milroe out there. He's been going crazy. And
Yeah.
Rocket Sanders, the running back, too.
Yeah, Rocket Sanders, he was a beast at Arkansas. It's unfortunate that guys like Luther Burden are just not having a great year. He's luckily a junior, so if he doesn't go to the draft, he probably will.
Yeah.
He could have a good college season, but we'll wish him well. Not a great season with Brady Cook.
Do you remember Ollie Gordon? I forgot about that guy. He was supposed to be so good. What happened?
Exactly. That Oklahoma State offense has been very shaky.
Yeah.
I'm going to take South Carolina in that one as well for the reasons you discussed. It's Beamer ball, baby. Let's go. Arizona State, Kansas State. The battle of 2 7-2 teams. Kansas State's a heavy favorite at home.
So Arizona State is 7-2. Another team getting slept on. Kansas State not as much. They're more like people know about them. So Arizona State, they probably aren't going to make the playoff. Maybe a Big 12 champion, it's possible. But I still think they'd take a team like Army over them because Army's ranked high. And we'll see how they do against Notre Dame. But Kansas State, the Big 12 is crazy. I'm not going to lie. So we got Colorado and BYU at the top. If Colorado drops one, there's going to be like 6 teams with 2 losses. And they're all going to be ranked from like 20 to unranked. And one of them will have a chance at the Big 12 championship game against BYU, which I think they could definitely win. I don't think BYU is that good. So this game means a lot. But I think Avery Johnson and Kansas State are going to get it done for them because they're the more talented team. But don't sleep on Arizona State. They could definitely get it done.
Yeah, I love Arizona State. Cam Scatabo, that guy's a beast. He's a great running back for them, and they've proved a lot of doubters wrong. They weren't expected to have 7 wins this year, and they already have 7 wins, and we're in week 11. So I'm going to take Arizona State in that one. I don't really like that Kansas State offense with Avery Johnson and DJ Giddens. So let's close it out with the big primetime matchup of the night. Tennessee travels to Sanford Stadium to take on Georgia. 1-loss Tennessee, 2-loss Georgia. It's a big game, big playoff implication on the line. Georgia's a heavy favorite. Who do you like here, Lucas?
I'm going to take the dogs in this one. Playoff hopes on the line. Carson Beck, he's not going to be phased in this one. They need the win. They need it. He's going to be throwing dimes all day. Dominic Lovett, touchdown. So pretty much Tennessee, I think they have the better defense, but they're on the road in Athens. Carson Beck's not going to let his girlfriend get to him this time. And, Kirby Smart's going to have them ready. It's going to be a lot like the Texas game, I fear. I feel like Tennessee, a lot of people are going to be picking Tennessee. That's going to make the Georgia players upset. They're going to come out on fire. They know they need to win this one. Maybe the less talented roster, I'm going to be honest, but they're going to have the fight this game. I don't think Tennessee will. They're going to get under Nico's skin, and Nico won't know how to handle it. That's why I think Georgia's going to win this.
Yeah, they always say great coaches win big games. Kirby Smart's a great coach. These are the games he likes, and he's very focused on the game. We saw him earlier this week when talking about the Georgia player that was celebrating with the Ole Miss fans. He said he can't waste his time on that. He's only focused on Tennessee. So he knows this is a big game for Georgia. He does not want to miss the playoffs for the second straight year. Georgia's going to be fired up. But I want Tennessee in this one. Georgia, they're the probable winner. But I don't know why Nico Iamaleava can't lead his team to victory in this one.
Yeah, I'm probably rooting for Tennessee as a Clemson fan. I think that would help me out more than Georgia beating Tennessee. So, yeah. But I just realized, Georgia dominated us at the beginning of the year. That's going to be a problem. We'll figure it out as it gets to the point. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. I still think Georgia's going to win, though. Should be good.
So that's going to do it for our previews, but I'm going to deliver a closing statement, Lucas, if you want, about college football.
Yeah.
Because there's something interesting I saw today that I don't know if people are talking about. So Army, right?
Yeah.
You always know they play the Navy-Army game. I don't know if you saw this, but you know when that game happens?
December 15th.
And it happens after the playoff selection.
Yeah.
Army can lose that game to Navy and still be a playoff team, which is kind of crazy to think about it, which means that this Army team should be locked in for Notre Dame. Locked in for that game. If they win that game and they win out, ESPN gives them a 91% chance to make the playoffs.
If we go undefeated, they cannot leave us out.
They won't leave you out. If you go undefeated, they will not leave you out.
We have to make it but we're not going to be Notre Dame, I'm going to be honest. But if that happens, that would be nuts.
Yeah, that's going to be a big game next week in Yankee Stadium. Lucas, anything to touch on in college football?
So it's all, at this point of the year, most of it's just all in the SEC. I feel like you got some ACC games, like for Clemson, they got to hope some teams lose. Miami and SMU, they just got to win. Big 12, kind of the same thing, but with BYU on top. And then the Big 10, it's really simple for the Big 10. It's just going to be Oregon and the winner of Ohio State and Indiana. So it's all on the SEC at this point. And it's going to be fun to watch. We have a lot of teams trying to get into that SEC championship game, probably like 7 in contention right now, with great games from that conference every week because it's such a great conference. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
So we're going to move it over to the other things, from the gridiron to the hard court, college basketball. And there's 4 big games tonight, no big games tomorrow. We're going to start off with the game. I think it already kicked off, though. Bama against Purdue. Who'd you like there?
Yeah, so I think the tip-off already happened in that one. I have no clue what the score is right now. Initial thoughts are I think they're both overrated with their ranks. I think Bama is getting a bit too much respect from their Final Four run last year. I think their defense was ranked like 160 or something, so that was just an improbable run. And they might have gotten a bit lucky with their matchups too, because they got to play like Grand Canyon, or no, that might have been the first round. But they got like Clemson, the Elite Eight. I'm a Clemson fan, but that's an easy Elite Eight matchup. They got a great offense, of course. I think 2 is way too high. And Purdue, they're nothing without Edey. They're top 25 caliber for sure. But without Jacobson, I think his name is, right?
Yeah.
Brody would know because that's his last name. But, he was the 7-4 guy. I think they're going to be in trouble, so I'm going to pick Bama.
Yeah, and I just don't. If Bama loses this game, I think it's a complete disappointment for Nate Oates and that entire team, because this is a Bama team compared. You're looking at Purdue. Just look at the size difference. You're starting 3 guys that are 6'11". Purdue has their tallest guy 7'2". Trey Kaufman runs 6'9". That size difference is right there, and these guys can shoot the 3. They're a faster tempo than Purdue. Purdue struggled with Yale this week, and Yale lost a lot of guys to the portal this season. If Bama loses this game, it's a disappointment.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll move it over to Marquette, traveling to Wisconsin. No, Marquette to Maryland.
Maryland, yeah. I love Cam Jones on Marquette. He's a great player. He could definitely drop 30 in this game. That's just the type of talent he has. And I love Stevie Mitchell, the fiery guard. I think they have David Joplin back at the Ben Gold, I think, is running the center. He's a talented player. But Maryland, what was that guy? Who's the guy? The great player on them? Who dropped like 20 and 20?
I know who you're talking about.
Derek Queen or Derek Jones or
Yeah,
something.
Derek Queen.
Yeah, Derek Queen. He's a beast. And Maryland's actually favorite, which I think will surprise lots of you guys. And yeah, they're at home, but I think Marquette's going to win. They're the more experienced team, and they're probably the better team. So I think it's definitely an easy play to take Marquette with the points.
Yeah, Marquette won their last game over Central Michigan by I think around 6 to 8 points. David Joplin was 0 for 10 from 3. Ben Gold was 2 for 9 from 3. That's terrible shooting from your big men. And this is a game for Cam Jones to just say, I'm a top player in the country. Let me show you in November why I am. I could see him dropping 30. I could see him dropping 40 in this one. I think Marquette's going to roll against Maryland.
Yeah.
So Arizona travels to Wisconsin. And Arizona's a slight favorite.
I hate Caleb Love so much. He's not even that good. Like, I just hate him. They lost Omar Ballo to Indiana, but Wisconsin, I remember back in the days when they used to always get like a 2 or 3 seed in the tournament. I would pick like Colgate to beat them. I never had trust in this Wisconsin team at all. I feel like they always like their defense is pretty good. They have like decent players and they find ways to win close games. But I could see Arizona steamrolling this Wisconsin team. But I haven't watched too much of these teams, of course, because the season just started. But if I had to make like a game prediction, maybe like 81-65 Arizona or something like that. If Wisconsin is at home, maybe that home court advantage would do something for them in the early season. But I don't see a way Arizona loses this because they're the way more talented team.
Yeah, totally agree with you. They returned a lot of their guys. They also got that guy from Oakland, Trey Townsend, the center.
Oh, yeah, Trey Townsend. I remember.
He's good. So I'm going to take Arizona in that one. In the final game, we're going to talk about a top 25 matchup. Ohio State travels to Texas A&M.
So Texas A&M, they lost to UCF earlier this season. And UCF has one of my favorite players, Jaden Ivey Curry. He's so good. But anyways, it's a top 25 matchup. And that same day where Texas A&M lost, Ohio State picked up a huge win that exact day against Texas. So I think Texas A&M, I think it's going to be a lot like that Baylor-Gonzaga thing. Baylor lost, and then I said I think Baylor's going to bounce back and beat Arkansas. And I think the same thing is going to happen in this one. I see Texas A&M bouncing back to beat Ohio State. And it's going to be a close game, just like the Baylor-Arkansas game, and it's going to be like a 77-72 Texas A&M. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, I feel the difference in this game is Wade Taylor to the fourth.
Yep.
If he's able to show up, this game could be over. We know he's been in slumps, though. In other big games, like you look back to the tournament against Houston, he shot bad, but when he's been good, he's been fun to watch. And if he is good tonight, Texas A&M with the home crowd, I think they're going to win that game.
And one thing real quick. Can we talk about how bad Villanova is? Like, what happened?
Did they drop to Virginia today?
Yep, they lost to Virginia. What's even happening to them? Kyle Neptune needs to go.
They didn't get any recruits again. The transfer portal, they didn't really get anybody. And there's a guy at Kansas State, last name Hauser. I forgot his first name, unfortunately. He played 19 minutes at Nova last year. He's averaging 20 points per year. 20 points per game this year at Kansas State.
Oh, yeah, the shooter. I remember.
Yep. Nova didn't even use him last year. I'm not sure what's going on with Kyle Neptune's staff, but if Nova wants to compete again, they're going to need to change some things.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for the college basketball portion, and that's going to do it for episode 5 of Hoop and Helmets. For Brody Jacobson and Lucas DeVries, we're signing out.